good afternoon. It's such a privilege and an honor to be able to join you here today, celebrating our youth with unique abilities and also celebrating our community. We're looking at a room awash with blue, a beautiful bright blue, and we're also looking at a wonderful, amazing, fantastic community leader, Miss Thelma Scott, who has always told us, no matter what, you keep on going and you keep on moving. And I have never met an advocate with such tenacity, with such spirit. And when she needs something, she knows who to call. And she is not afraid for being that advocate because she knows that every single child, especially the most vulnerable, need a champion. And so as you sit here today, you serve as a champion. A very beautiful, diverse community, but especially for those with special needs, to make sure that we live in a city where a child and a young person can be unique, can follow their passions and dreams, can be supported and loved and mentored, can do anything they want to be. That is the dream of every single person that is in here today, and we see it in the students that have received these beautiful scholarship recipients. Let's make sure to give them another round of applause. And from the amazing performances, I want to say, my goodness, those touched my heart. Little Jessie and the songs that we heard today, we know that there are children amongst us, but many times the voices of our youth, they're lost. And sometimes we're so busy and caught up in our day-to-day activities that we don't often sit down and talk to a young one and find out what's going on in their life. I tell folks, when I first started on the school board way back then, I thought I would be just working on making good schools better. I thought I was wearing rose-colored lenses. I didn't realize the challenges that existed in our community. And I will say that some of the most fiercest parent advocates that I met were the parent advocates for children with special needs. And many of the parents would tell me, Juliet, there are so many things that the young people need. They need more resources, more supports. We need to be able to have the appropriate therapy and the counseling and the health care. We need an advocate. And there were so many times that people ask questions. Why is it that we must wait? Why is that we're not getting the help right now? And I will say that Barbara Jordan Endeavors, which is now the Safe Diversity Communities organization, has always been at the forefront, fighting, loving, and being a tremendous advocate for all children, especially the most vulnerable in our community that need the assistance the most. And so on behalf of Mayor Sylvester Turner, I want to say thank you to everyone that is here today that's going to be buying a raffle ticket, participating in the auction, making a generous donation, buying a ticket for a table, and just being here to celebrate a room awash with blue, a room with the most precious, most valuable members of our community, our children, and those with unique and special abilities that we must always celebrate. And so I also want to say, my bio was started just saying that I have parents from Mexico and Argentina. And I tell folks that my father just passed away on April 29th, 2018 at 12:45 p.m. And I say my father was a fierce champion and advocate for being involved in the community. He told me, America is a place where you can be anything you want to be if you study and you work hard. And one of his last wishes to me, he said, don't cry for me. Make sure you go out there and keep on fighting for the kids, fight for the community, and continue to make a difference. As I saw my father's health decline, I saw him go from a very active person to someone who became wheelchair bound. I became intimately involved in understanding the difficulties and being able to, when you have mobility challenges and issues, how something as small as a little bump, 2 inches, could become an overwhelming obstacle. I also saw my father struggle to eat And then I became aware of how sometimes when we force our own perspective on others, how it may force stress upon them, and how we must show empathy and understanding because every person is unique. And then in the final days before my father passed, he told me, please go and get me a grapefruit. Now, I'll tell you, I thought that was an interesting request. I have 4 grapefruit trees in my backyard, and my father took good care of those grapefruit trees. It was like his job after he retired. My dad retired at 76, not because he wanted to retire, but because they closed the shop, and he looked for work for 8 more months. But my father would come by almost every day to check on my grapefruit trees. One year we had, out of those 3 little trees and an orange tree in the backyard, we had 500 grapefruits. We gave them away to kids in the community, to schools. When I was on the school board, I went to Fur High School and gave probably a whole bag full of grapefruits to the kids. And then when he found out that Mayor Sylvester Turner's favorite fruit is grapefruit, he was like, I got to take extra special care of those grapefruit trees. I said, and then when I told Mayor that my father was sick, he said, you go home and you take care of your daddy because he's got to take care of my grapefruits. So it wasn't unusual for my father to ask for some grapefruits, but I wondered why. So I wheeled him into the kitchen, and I gave him his grapefruit, and he sharpened the knife, and he cut the grapefruit the way that he had seen on a special cooking show, where you take away the rind, you take away the skin that's over the grapefruit, and you just serve the pulp. And he fed it to me as if I were just a child. And I wondered and said, why is my dad feeding me this grapefruit this way? So then it came close to the next day. He said, I want you to go and get me another grapefruit. And this time, he was a little more weaker. And he cut his last grapefruit the day before he passed in bed. And he fed me and my mother and my sister. He always wanted to be that provider. But I prayed to God after my father passed. And I said, why did he ask and feed me this grapefruit? And it's as if God told me this message. There are not a lot of people that like grapefruit. It's bitter. It's not that fun to eat. It's not sweet and juicy like an orange. It's not as easy and sweet as a banana to peel. And sometimes when you eat it, it's just plain sour. And it can be bitter too. But I remember when my father peeled off all that rind from that grapefruit and took away the skin and fed us just the pulp. It was sweet. So remember, in life may be bitter. There may be times when it doesn't taste good. But if you take all the bitterness away and you remove the skin and you get down to the heart of what exists, you will find sweetness. And so I tell everyone in here, it takes a village. It takes a community for us to transform those situations that make life hard. That we must come together as a village. We must come together as leaders to be strong advocates for everyone. Because it is in everyone in working together that we make this country great. It is not just in those that are up high. It is in every single person that sits here today. And I want us to celebrate our students and youth with unique abilities, with all the strength and passion and the love that Miss Thelma Scott and her board and the Safe Diverse Communities brings to us. So thank you very much. On behalf of Sylvester Turner, I am deeply honored and privileged to be with you here today to celebrate. Lots of love and special love to